Hello everyone, welcome to the Open Source at Siemens event 2023. Great to have you here on site, great to have you here on the stream. I'm talking a little bit about the last 10 years of the Open Source event, but it's all about technology and culture, and as you've recognized the location here, that's a concert area and so on, we're gonna celebrate later on. But first, I wanna give you a little guidance regarding the event, regarding logistics. So for the remote participants, of course, feel free to ask any kind of question you have. Just use the chat functionality on the live stream. We're doing our best to answer all your questions there. For the people here, if you have a question, raise your hand. We have people with the microphone, so that's important. Otherwise, the remote audience will not be able to understand what you're asking. And of course, we're going to provide all the recordings and the slides then later on our Open Source Siemens.com website. And maybe in addition, we do not have a event crew and like other events. It's the team managing the in-house coding platform, Code Siemens.com, the people maintaining open source projects and contributing to open source projects and so on, are the maintainers of the event as well. And with some friends, we're managing the bar, doing the barbecue and all those things. So if you have empty bottle stuff, bring it back and so on. So we have more time to talk with each other instead of tidying up the venue. Then, of course, we have a bunch of speakers from the different companies. So thanks a lot for being with us. And of course, we are using Oncast as our streaming platform. We are using OBS to do the streaming. Work Adventure, that's the virtual bar environment we are using here, where people are able to interact then also remotely. And and a special thank you also to my buddies, Fabio and Ercan, for doing all the streaming, preparing all the setup and so on. I've just seen here, we have a timer. So the last 10 years, we started pretty small. First, we had just an in-house mini event. I thought, hey, open source is such an important topic. We are using open source software in all the different kind of products and solutions and so on. We should do a little event. So bring the people related to the open source topic from the different domains, software engineers, project leaders, legal and so on, together to one conference, talk about the topics, how can we improve as a company and so on. So we started with that journey as open source at BT. BT stands for Building Technologies during that time. Then happily, there was a construction work there in Zug at the visitor center. And during that time, Marus told me, hey, Roger, there's a nice location here in Zug, the so-called Galvanic. Maybe we can go there with the open source event. And since then, we were going to this place here as we have a very good match here, culture-wise and collaboration culture, and not the typical office conference style. And then later on, we were moving towards BT became SI. We were moving towards a corporate IT. So then we changed the name to Open Source at Siemens. And nowadays we have, luckily, we have people from all over the company and guests from different companies at the venue. since many years. So a little bit about the topics we had at the very early days. So of course license compliance was a huge topic at the very early days. We were talking about SPDX, the license identifiers, the exchange formats. We had the first presentations about GitLab and so on. I remember Walter was doing at the first event a demo about the Git and the GitLab. So we had a lot of those, let's say, a bit more legacy version control systems also in place. Nowadays, it's really cool to see how Git became so de facto standard somehow in the industry. C++ and so on. We're still doing a lot of embedded work during that time. I was there within the CCP department. We did a lot of embedded Linux stuff. So this was, of course, a little bit the main focus also there. The first event, we really had only Siemens people and probably only Siemens building technology people and so on. And then over the years, of course, we expanded. We had panel discussion, as you can see here on an internal news article, for example, at the early days as well. We were also promoting via the in-house communication channels the importance of open source, how we're using open source within our products and so on to raise the awareness about the topic. And at the very early day, we did the barbecue at the lakeside, so we were having there kind of fire station, and then it was raining and so on, and it was just a few enthusiasts together having fun doing the barbecue and talking about the topic we really engaged with. Then the next year we were moving to the Galvanic, luckily, and as you can see here on the top right, we have the Fabio in the early days there. We had the same location. We changed a little bit. Also, we had kind of topic clusters and so on about the digital culture elements, and grouped those things a little bit more. Nowadays, we switched to a not topic cluster group and so on. And of course, if there is a presentation you're not that interested on, we have plenty of space also there where you can do other stuff or talk about different kind of topics however you like. We had inner source became a thing. We also do the inner source summit, for example, at Siemens. We did it twice already. We will do this year the inner source summit again. And more also cloud technologies, containers, APIs, and so on became a little bit more popular during that time. And we had guests, of course, from different kind of companies, and the community was kind of growing. So we have a lot of people joining us every year, and that's kind of nice to get together and bring people from the different companies and organizations together in one place. Then we had the fancy COVID time, so this was a really hard thingy. So we were already booking the location here and prepared a lot of things, and then, oh no, it's the COVID, we have nothing. Then we decided somehow to do a mini edition, so we just had 2 afternoons, I guess, about four slots each day, internal only, the mini edition. And then 2021, we then moved a little bit towards more openness, so having the morning internal only, so having kind of a little bit more safe environment. People are also able to talk a little bit more open about internal stuff and so on, and in the afternoon we made full public. And as it was very well received by all the folks internally and externally, we then decided last year to go the first time full public for the whole 2 days, doing the streams, having the recordings then on our YouTube channel, having all the slides published on our Open Source Siemens.com portal and so on. So to really go out to the wild and do the open source really open. Maybe one cool thing, as I've mentioned before, we're talking about the license compliance, SPDX, and so on. And I still remember I was talking with the Wolfgang Denk here in Zug at the office, explaining him the challenge a little bit regarding license compliance and all those things. Then we were talking about, hey, let's do that somehow as engineers do the things, like automating and so on. And so introduced the SPDX license identifier, then contributed that to the U-Boot, to the Poco C++ libraries, to several different kind of projects and so on. Also gave a try to the Linux kernel there within the USB subtree, I remember. This was not successful, but later on, about a year ago, it's also within the Linux kernel, one of the biggest commits, removing tons of lines and all those headers, having now their nice SPDX license identifier. So yeah, Wolfgang passed away, and yeah, we'll always remember him. Open-minded person. We had so many different discussions about topics. He was so open also to the new things. I remember when we were talking about GitLab and GitHub and so on, and I was, hey, that's a merge request workflow, I really like it like this and so on, and he was always open-minded towards those things, and yeah, it was just a great guy. And as I mentioned at the first event, we had the presentation about Git and GitLab nowadays. Really cool. We have over 60,000 people on our in-house coding platform. So a lot of people are collaborating there with each other. Of course, still a lot of dedicated close projects, but more and more projects that are reused. So we have projects that are used over 1,000 times internally. So that's a really cool achievement from my perspective, what we had with the platform, so that people don't develop things again and again. So for example, documentation as code that we are promoting and providing also and doing also with the platform. There was nobody forcing towards such a direction. We made it available for all the people, and how many people are just using the MK docs and the doc themes and so on, and have a nice, beautiful documentations. Just simple things that make people's life easier. Also, the contributions towards GitLab. So we were now, that's really cool. We're now. Thank you, Raymond. So we were contributing a lot there for features we're missing or bugs we want to have fixed immediately that we might have a different priority and so on. That's really cool also to see how this is recognized within the community and so having a deployment without the patches and just do the proper upstream work there. And thanks to this, we're also getting a little bit more priority on the merge request. That's really cool. So getting things faster in and fixed. So over 450 merge requests are in already, and we're doing more and more, of course. The license compliance was a big thing at the early days on the open source area. This was, of course, also important to get also better understanding, better support also within the organization. So we did the OSAD license compliance audit. We were the first ones passing that audit here in Zug. I still remember sitting there with the reverse engineering with Armin Hemel, I guess, was it, and the legal guy, I don't remember, sorry. Till Jäger, exactly, and Till Jäger, they were reverse engineering our firmware and so on, and analyzing and checking all the tiny little details regarding license compliance. So made this as well, and yeah, of course, the open source portal, we started with that as an event page here for the event to publish the agenda, to publish the slides, and over the last years we now also extended that towards a full-fledged portal, having all the details about the open source activities there in one place. So maybe some latest news and things you might have seen. That's also a really cool thing inspired by the Mercedes-Benz colleagues. We made an open source manifesto, also now online on our open source portal. So it took a while getting there. So special thanks to Florian and Nates and Oliver and the people driving it, and of course also special thanks to Hannah Hennig and Peter Curtis supporting us there from a top management. And it was really cool that Peter Curtis mentioned, hey, we should sign it with blood. and then Florian directly reacted, hey, that's cool. And then we were signing and putting all our names that are committed to the open source manifesto there on the website. And we have the CTO nearby, the apprentice and or the working student and so on, and the principal engineers. It's kind of altogether committed to the open source manifesto and the principles. And of course we're gonna do more and more, learn while walking and improving, and we have so many people with deep experience in open source contributions and so on. Really happy to see that now in place, and having the support at all the different levels within the organization, and of course also increasing the visibility external. So if I'm unable to contribute to an open source project, my local patch, why should I join a company? For example, at Siemens you can. So the next topics we're working towards in that area, we joined the secret scanning program of GitHub, because a while ago we implemented the custom token, personal access token prefix functionality within GitLab, so that we become able to detect leaked tokens on our in-house platform. And now we're collaborating there with GitHub, so to get directly via an API informed about leaked tokens on github.com of our in-house platform. So that's an ongoing journey. And on the other hand, we're also now checking how we can use the GitHub sponsors functionality. So we're there, of course, you can imagine it's not like, here's the money, here do the sponsoring. At Siemens Company we do all those things in a compliant way, so having a lot of checks and discussions internally and so on to do that in a proper way and in a reproducible way. Why did we sponsor this and that and so on? And at the moment we are setting up that so that we can further improve and sponsor some dedicated projects we are using heavily. We will start with the projects that are used by the Code Siemens Com platform in our ecosystem, and then of course over the time we're gonna extend that, and we'll offer options also for others at the company to join us. You can see all those things, of course, on Code Siemens Com CodeOps open source community management repo, where we also manage our GitHub account in a machine using infrastructure as code. So yeah, and of course we're gonna do more contributions. And if you have also, for the Siemens folks, if you have questions and stuff or concerns, yeah, we are here. Join the community. Also on the Yammer channel we have a lot of experts in all the different areas. We have kernel hackers, we have OpenSSL maintainers, we have GitLab hackers, we have all kind of stuff, all kind of people there, and usually and we know where to ask. So if you have a challenge there, of course we're around. So, and then of course if you have ideas on how we could improve, want to provide feedback and so on. We will later on provide those links again. It's a bit difficult to do that at the very start, providing feedback, but we'll do. And yeah, so thank you for being here, and have a lot of fun.